So today is December the 31st. I am literally have been cleaning my house up, washing clothes, sweeping, mopping, doing everything to get myself ready for next year. If you have caused me any type of hurt, if you made me cry, you made me feel uncomfortable, you made me feel weird, if you have backstabbed me, you're in this year. I'm done. I'm not bringing your bitch ass into my next year. So leave your bitch ass in this year. So fuck you, fuck your boyfriend, fuck your husband, fuck your girlfriend, fuck your wife, fuck your mama, fuck your kids. Just fuck your grandmama, fuck your auntie, fuck your uncle, fuck your best friend crew, fuck everybody you work with, fuck your work. Anything that has to do with you, fuck it. Completely disregard it because I don't want to deal with you next year.
Okay, so Happy New Year. It is now January 1st, 2023. Originally, I would have done this video yesterday, but I decided to wait till today, so this will be the first entry into my video log for 2023. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more videos over time. I look back, I posted, I think, 26 videos for the month of December. And that just goes to show you one of the reasons why I love iPhones so much. It just makes it very, very easy for me to post vlogs at will and to very quickly edit them and to very quickly get them on YouTube. Some people use iMacs. I don't feel the need for it. So anyway, the one thing I wanted to talk very quickly about, and I'm going to obviously leave the links so that this way you can see it yourself. I've been hearing a number of people who've been trying to make changes to their employment status and getting new jobs, and basically some people were asking me things about, how should they plan for their retirement and whatnot. Now, since I don't like to just make stuff up or talk out of my ass, one of the things I like to do is use anecdotes and cross-reference that with, articles and stuff that have already been published, so that this way, it's kind of like a backup. It's kind of like not just anecdotal, but it's also based on research and statistics. So Motley Fool, they get things right from time to time, but there are some things I disagree with them with, especially when it comes to cryptocurrency predictions, which they've pretty much been completely wrong about from the very beginning, just like everybody else. But they were talking about one of the things that you need to consider for your future retirement. A health retirement plan is something you don't want to miss out on. So I'm just going to skip straight down to it. They say one savings plan that may not hit your radar in the context of retirement is a health savings account. HSA. So this is a new term. Technically, an HSA isn't a retirement savings plan in the basic sense, but an HSA could easily serve as a form of retirement savings. And the tax benefits you might reap along the way could surpass those offered by any other individual retirement plan. HSAs make a lot of sense for retirement. The purpose of an HSA is to set aside money for healthcare spending, hence the name. But once retirement arrives, you may find that healthcare is one of your greatest monthly expenses, or perhaps even your greatest expense. If you have paid off your home, this could still be your greatest expense. When people get older, like for instance, I have family members, most of us have older family members. Once they start passing 60 and 64 and 65, it's like their bodies basically just quit. Now, that doesn't have to be a wholesale truth or reality. There's some people who take very good care of their body. The problem is it is very likely, especially in this country, with all of the toxic environment that we live in, that your body's going to start to quit. For example, there's a lawsuit against Hershey chocolate right now. Hershey chocolate, their dark chocolate apparently is contaminated in many cases with lead and cadmium. These are both heavy metals. Lead can cause high blood pressure, and it can cause neurological issues, especially with the brain and headaches. And then they have cadmium, which also can cause issues that may cause the body to take on extra metals, and it also may cause cancer. So right now, there's a lawsuit against Hershey chocolate. Now, if you really think about it, a lot of people have eaten dark chocolate, and a lot of people have eaten Hershey chocolate all of their lives. Women especially. You think about women, especially menopausal or menstruating women who reach for a bar of chocolate or they reach for something with chocolate in it. And now you're fucking finding out in 2023 that this shit might be killing you. This is my point. This country is a toxic environment. Another recent story, I may have mentioned it in my community chat, Singapore is forcing software drinks to show how much sugar is on the side of the drink. Saudi Arabia noticed that they had a vast increase in diabetes when Coca-Cola and Pepsi came to Saudi Arabia. Now, the sad thing about it is these are examples of capitalism, and these are examples of how capitalism goes into a lot of these other countries, many of which are socialist. And despite the fact that capitalism provides jobs, the problem is if you're selling a product that's basically poisonous, you end up destroying these other countries. China, for example, and even the Philippines, they've had their own sodas, they've had their own soda manufacturers. But one thing I noticed when I lived in those countries, soda wasn't plentiful. It's like if you're in America, Taco Bell, McDonald's, pretty much all of the fast food restaurants, in order to compete with each other, they've basically made soda free refills, all you can drink. When you go to these foreign countries don't allow that. They don't have free refills, all you can drink. One thing you'll notice is the vast majority of these foreign countries, the people are skinnier, the people tend to be healthier. But as soon as these American companies start coming in, all of a sudden these people start gaining weight and they start getting diabetes. So basically, you live in a toxic environment that's slowly killing you while it's simultaneously taxing you to death. So just think about that. So anyway, says, meanwhile, the cost of healthcare has risen steadily over the years, and it's projected to stay on that path. So chances are your Social Security benefits won't do a great job of helping you keep up with healthcare expenses. Rather, you'll need an additional income source to make sure you can manage your medical bills as a senior. That's where an HSA comes in. HSAs are so valuable because they offer 3 distinct tax benefits. Contributions are tax-free, investment gains are tax-free, withdrawals are tax-free, as long as the money is used for qualified healthcare expenses. Since an HSA's main purpose is to serve as a means of paying medical bills, the IRS doesn't take kindly to non-medical withdrawals, and you'll be penalized if you go that route. But once you turn 65 years of age, you can take an HSA withdrawal for any purpose without getting hit with a penalty. In that case, you will have to pay taxes on the withdrawals you take, but that's no different than paying taxes on traditional IRA or 401k withdrawals. Don't pass up an HSA in 2023. If your health insurance plan is compatible with an HSA in 2023, then it pays to not only sign up, but aim to max out. In 2023, you can qualify for an HSA with a minimum individual deductible of $1,500 and a minimum family deductible of $3,000. Your health plan's out-of-pocket maximum also needs to be $7,500 or less as an individual, or $15,000 or less if you have family coverage. Meanwhile, your maximum HSA contribution for 2023 will hinge on your age and your level of coverage. If you're under 55, you can contribute up to $3,850 as an individual or $7,750 at the family level. If you're 55 or older, these limits rise to $4,850 and $8,750 respectively. An HSA may not seem like an obvious choice when it comes to building retirement savings, but you're going to need to pay for healthcare as a senior, and your costs might really add up. Socking funds away in an HSA is a good way to help ensure that you'll be able to keep up with those bills. And if you happen to wind up in an unfortunate position of having more money than you need to pay for healthcare, you can always treat your SHA to like a traditional retirement plan once you turn 65. So the bottom line is, it's like some jobs, well, for the most part, the majority of all of these jobs, the majority, not all of them, but they pay a Social Security tax. The Social Security tax is about 12.4%. You pay 6.2% and your job pays 6.2%. But because of the mishandling and graft that's been in Social Security, Social Security for many people may or may not be around years from now. Now, we don't know how long it will take for Social Security to truly become insolvent. But there are people who don't believe that Social Security will become insolvent because they don't understand math or logic. The reality is, because of the graft and the stealing from Social Security, there's a very good possibility it could become insolvent. Recently, a lot of my family members have mentioned, oh, yes, I just received a rise in my Social Security. I just received a jump in Social Security. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, do you realize that whatever more they're paying you for your Social Security, you're having that taxed away from you by either inflation or the cost of heating your house or the cost of putting gas in your car? Now, fortunately, like even when I think about my mother, she doesn't drive very much because she's retired. My father doesn't drive very much. He's retired. They don't have to worry about gas prices. Like every time I see my parents, one of the biggest things we talk about is gas prices. Like I'm always complaining about what Costco and BJ's are charging as well as what it costs on the street. They're not feeling that because first of all, they use regular unleaded. And second of all, they don't drive very much because they don't have to go back and forth to work. They're damn near 70 years old, both of them. When they buy food, that's when they feel the cost of energy tax. That's when they really feel the cost, when they buy food, because then they can see, oh yeah, the price of eggs has gone up, the price of milk has gone up, the price of food has gone up. They can see that. A lot of these people who are so quick to praise this government for a small increment increase in Social Security totally ignore the fact that no matter what that increment increase is, it's literally getting taxed away from them by the cost of energy increase or the cost of inflation. So the thing about it is you have to save money. You have to. Part of the reason why I'm going electric is so I don't have to waste $200 a week on my gas guzzling SRT. Now, some people, it's funny, some people are stupid. They really are. And the first thing you hear them say is, oh, yeah, well, if you can afford a car like that, then you don't have to worry about gas. It's like, hey, moron, do you realize that when you get a budget increase in fuel or oil, whether it's for your house or your car, that's money that you're literally just throwing down the drain? Rich people, for example, these people are buying these. Like, have you taken a look at what these rich people are buying? They're buying fucking Tesla planes. They're buying Fiskas. They're buying these Lucid Airs. They're buying Hummers and shit. They're buying a big extravagant car, but they're paying a fraction of the cost to fuel it. Rolls-Royce bringing out a goddamn electric car called the Spectre. BMW just put out this i7, got a giant 30-inch television in the back seat. But I don't know if y'all are smart enough to realize, even Bugatti said, you know what, we can't do these W16 engines anymore because they're unsustainable. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the next Bugattis electric. Everything's going electric, whether you like it or not. But one thing I've realized is poor people like to waste money. And that's just a reality. Take a look at somebody like Warren Buffett. Ain't nobody you know got as much money as Warren Buffett has. Warren Buffett, this man buys used Cadillacs. I bet you good money that Warren Buffett's going to buy himself a Cadillac Lyric. It'll probably be used because Warren Buffett's got more money than God, and the guy buys used Cadillacs. Now, he could buy a new one, but he buys used ones. I don't think he drives anymore, but Warren Buffett, for example, lives within his means, and the fucking guy is a billionaire, but he still lives within his means. And he buys used Cadillacs. That's just crazy to me. I mean, at least buy a new Cadillac. But Warren Buffett buys used Cadillacs. Meanwhile, Pookie and Ray Ray and these dumbass Chads on the street, they're trying to figure out ways to get into a used Lamborghini Urus because they're badge whores who need to drive wealthy-looking cars around to try to convince people that they're wealthy. Meanwhile, they're living in their fucking parents' basement. You see, rich people, they do everything they can to save money. When I have my electric car and I'm charging that thing at 1/4 the cost that it would cost for gas, I'm going to be taking that other 3/4 of my money and I'm going to invest part of it, and I'm going to save the other part of it. And when I say invest part of it, I'm going to be buying more shares in electric vehicle companies. And eventually, when the recession is over and things go pretty much back to close to normal, it's like all of those shares, well, for the one part, some of them pay dividends. The ones that pay dividends are going to be paying me back as if it was a glorified savings account. And the rest of that money is going to be waiting for me in my retirement. I've got 10 years left to that. This is 2023. By 2035, I'm retired. Think about that for a second. When I make these comments and jokes about being in a foreign country with some young wife serving me buko juice and coconut milk, I'm not making this shit up. This is going to be a reality. This is the Passport Bros reality. So the thing about it is, I ain't trying to waste no money. Every time I have to go to this fucking gas station, it bothers me. It really does. It bothers me to no end. It hurts my soul to go to these fucking gas stations now. To think that I'm spending all this money on fucking gas and just wasting it in traffic. 30% of this energy is just wasted. It's probably more than that. Bothers me. I ramble and divert to say this. You don't have money to fucking waste. Now, if you think you do, go ahead and prove me wrong. But when you're fucking homeless and you're taking a shit on yourself in front of some pharmacy in California because they wouldn't give you medicine and you're out in the cold, that's when you'll understand you don't have money to waste. Or when you're here in New York, just like the last story I read, and you're being evicted out of some Section 8 shithole housing in the Bronx, and you're being evicted, that's when maybe my words will come back and be like, you know what? I think he was right. I don't have money to waste. Doesn't matter how much money you make. Do you realize these people make $300,000 a year and they're living paycheck to paycheck? Do you realize that? There was a study about that shit. There's people who make between $200,000 and $300,000 a year and they're living paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because they're driving around in Lamborghinis and they're driving around in Rolls Royces and shit. Warren Buffett's a billionaire. He's buying used Cadillacs. Just think about that shit. So HSA is a good start. If you don't have an HSA, maybe you should look into finding an HSA that you can afford. Or what you do is you set aside a contribution out of your salary, and maybe every single paycheck, if you make $100,000, it won't hurt you too much to put $100 or $200 in every single paycheck. If you make $200,000, maybe $300 or $400. You see where I'm going with this? Maybe $500. Better to save the money than to not save the money. I mean, if you save the money, it's going to be there. But if you don't save the money, you probably spend this shit up. So that's the HSA. That's the first thing I had to say. I've seen no fewer than 5 articles recently about retirement contribution limits. Now, let me explain something before I even start reading this. One of the things about civil service work that I have noticed, there's a lot of cultures, especially certain religion. I pay very close attention because I have a lot of Jewish partners and friends. And I've paid attention to what they do. I've also watched a lot of what Asians, like my Chinese friends, do and how they live, because I'm always paying attention to other people to see how they live and learning lessons from that. One of the things was, for example, what the women would do is they work, and when they get married, they start living off the husband's salary, and then they take their salary and they divert as much of it as possible to their tax-deferred annuity. By the time that their marriages usually last, but by the time that couple gets old, they have like $2 and $3 million retirement funds saved up because they've been putting the most amount of their money towards retirement. So give or take, they work maybe 20, 30 years, 25, maybe 35 years. By the time they're retiring when they're 60, their house is paid off. And on top of that, they're rolling out with a $2 or $3 million pension. So then what they do is they take that money and they move to a state that isn't taxing their pension, or either taxing it at all or taxing it heavily. Usually they move to Florida. And a lot of people have recently moved to places like Miami because of the social media influencer category. But the reality is, a lot of these people move to Florida and they live the rest of their life like on the beachfront properties and this, that, and other. But the reason why they can afford that is because they fucking saved up like 20 and 30% of their income for such a long time. And then they got inflation protection on that money. They got other additional dividends on that money from their plans, their retirement plans. But more recently, especially with the rise in the cost of inflation, one thing I've noticed is there's a lot of people, when they start jobs, they're usually approached by tax deferred annuities, TDAs, or they're approached by their business's retirement system. And a lot of them make the mistake of contributing too much money. I have a female friend, and I've talked about this a couple of times. She recently bought a house, and she pulled money out of her retirement fund because she was contributing as much as she could to it and living on very little, driving an old beater car. And the problem was she got heavily penalized for it, because the problem is these retirement funds, they expect you to keep this money in there until it's absolutely time to for you to be able to take it out. One of the things you got to be careful of is contributing too much to these funds. Now, it means what you have to do is you have to take a close look at your income, and you have to take a close look at what you can actually afford to put into these funds. For example, some people, what they'll do is they'll go the whole year without contributing, and then they'll wait till like tax season, and then they'll take money from their tax return, and they'll take that and they'll use that for a contribution. But most of these contributions, they want you to be paying on a monthly basis. My recommendation is that you start with a small amount of money until you get your bearings, maybe $100, maybe $200 a month, just like with this HSA healthcare savings plan I'm talking about. You can start with a small amount of money, and then if you want to maximize the contribution because you feel you have extra to put in, maybe wait till tax season. Let's say you get $10,000 back in taxes. Take 8,000 or 7,000 or 6,000 and take half of that, put it into an HSA, take another half of that and put it towards the retirement. So this way, every single year, you're boosting your retirement without forcing yourself to do it on a monthly basis. A tax-deferred annuity usually allows you to choose between 1% upwards to like 28%, but sometimes those numbers change depending upon jobs. But the thing, because they don't want you contributing like 100% of your salary. They don't want you doing that shit, because they pretty much know that chances are if you contribute a very large amount of your salary, the second something happens, you're going to need to take money out, and then you're going to get hit with a penalty. The other thing is, if you're putting too much money in, and a lot of people are putting too much money in, what'll end up happening is when they come to the point where it's time to withdraw, that fund may have problems making good on those withdrawals. So that's an issue. But anyway, it says funneling money into a tax-advantaged account such as an IRA or 401k is a must if you're banking on enjoying a comfortable retirement. These kinds of accounts offer a much higher rate of growth compared to a regular savings account. However, there's a catch when it comes to how much you can save each year. The IRS routinely adjusts the annual retirement contribution limits for qualified retirement accounts. Here are the latest contribution limits for 2023. And I'd also like to point out one of the reasons why the IRS is very careful now about what they limit you to investing is simply because there's been situations where people have paid their taxes up front, invested money, and they've got so much money coming out on the back end, and now the IRS can't tax it. Because you got to remember, what has changed in the last 20 or 30 years is the interest rates. The IRS has been slowly pushing interest rates up in order to fight inflation. But if you were a person and you got in on the ground floor and you were contributing a large amount of money back when interest rates were low, well, now when you're pulling your money out, the IRS sees that you've got all this money, but the problem is you already paid taxes on it. So now they can't fuck with you later on. So now the IRS is trying to make it so that you can't put a certain amount in because later on they'll miss out on all the tax that they would have been able to take from you, which goes back to what I was saying about these women contributing the maximum amount of their money to their retirement plan and then coming out with these multi-million-dollar pensions. IRS can't touch it because they already paid the tax on it. And they paid the tax when it was worth less. So now that it's worth more, now they can't tax it. That pisses the government off because they want to be able to take your money after all so they can send it over there to Ukraine while Vladimir Putin's flattening the place and wasting the goddamn money. Last night, I wake up at 12 o'clock on the dot because I went to sleep for a little while. I wake up at 12 o'clock to explosions and shit. They got all these fireworks and everything. Well, over there in Kyiv, they were all clapping and smiling with Kamala Harris and Biden last week. And, they said we're going to give them joint direct attack munition bombs. Well, Russia said, oh, really? So they rang in the new year by launching missiles at Kyiv, right? And we're giving all our goddamn money away, and we wonder why this country is so insolvent at this point. Yeah, right. Oh, by the way, if you have any problems with my political views, just remember the off button on your fucking phone and the unsubscribe button and the off button are right there. So don't even bother telling me you have a problem with my political views. You can throw yourself out a goddamn window. I don't give a fuck. So anyway, retirement plans offered through your employer can either be defined benefit plans such as a pension or defined contribution plans like 403B, 457, or 401k plans. If you're enrolled in any of the above, you can defer up to $22,500 of your salary into your account for 2023, a $2,000 increase over 2022 limits. The maximum 401k contribution limit also applies to federal employees who participate in the Thrift Savings Plan. This cap doesn't include employer matching contributions. Although your company match is not included in maximum 401k contribution limits, the IRA does cap the total of your contribution and your employer's contributions. For 2022, that cap is the lesser of either 100% of employee compensation or $66,000. Note that this you hear these people with these shitty cars outside, you hear them? You hear them? I can't wait till all these cars are electric. I'll never have to hear these motherfuckers ever again. So anyway, nope. You hear that fart can? That piece of shit fart can. You hear that? You hear that? So anyway, note that this $66,000 cap doesn't include catch-up contributions, which can be up to $6,500 for those 50 or older. Defined benefit plans pay you a set amount of money once you retire, based on your annual salary and how many years of service you've racked up. Because of the cost involved, fewer companies are offering defined benefit plans. For those that are, the annual contribution limit per employee tops out at $265,000 for 2023, a $20,000 increase from 2022. Wow, that's a lot of money to put in one of these plans, though. That's amazing. Imagine if you made millions of dollars a year and you could put in $265,000. Wow, that's crazy. When you own a business or you work as an independent contractor, you have to think outside the box a little in terms of how you can save for retirement. Two of the most common options available are SEP and simple IRAs. Now, this applies to people, especially if you're a gig worker like an Uber driver or a Lyft driver or something like that. This applies specifically to you. If you're not working for a company and you're an independent contractor, obviously you're the one managing your money. Instead of spending up 100% of your money, you have to have something left over later on. But generally, both plans offer more benefits than you'd get with a traditional IRA. For 2023, you can contribute a maximum of $66,000 in a SEP IRA or $15,500 in a simple IRA. If you own a sole proprietorship or your only employee is your spouse, a solo 401k may also be a good choice. The 2023 contribution limits are the same as the SEP IRA, and your contributions grow on a tax-deferred basis. Employing your spouse. Now, that was something that Kevin Samuels talked about. If you're a high-value man, you should be able to hire your wife. That helps you in numerous ways on your taxes. I had a doctor, and he was my general practitioner. He was a doctor, MD, and his wife was working for him as his secretary. And in addition to that, she also had a hair care business. Could you imagine the tax benefits that you get when you're a doctor and you hire your wife to be your secretary and she's got her own business on the side? Think about that for a second. Now, your wife is working in the next room and you're getting tax discounts on your wife. That's cool. An IRA is an excellent choice for supplementing the amount you're saving in an employer's plan or building your nest egg when you're not eligible to participate in a retirement plan at work. With a traditional IRA, you get the benefit of deferring taxes on earnings, and your contributions may be deductible. You fund a Roth IRA with after-tax dollars, and this is what I'm talking about. These Roth IRAs, you pay the taxes up front, and now, whatever money you earn, government can't tax it. They don't like that. They want to be able to tax the shit out of you so that they can send your money over there to Ukraine. Just think about that for a second. For 2023, the most you can put into either a traditional IRA or Roth IRA is $6,500. In terms of saving for, and by the way, just look at that. The cap on the Roth IRA, because they want to make sure that you don't win in the end, is lower than it is on the accounts where they're going to tax the shit out of you later. Just think about that. In terms of saving for retirement, you're better off starting sooner than later. Absolutely. I was talking to somebody online. The guy was 28 years old, and he was going into trucking. The sooner you start, the better. Now, most men are not going to hit their financial stride until they're about 35. Some men get an earlier start because if you really think about it, you're supposed to be in college by the time you're 20. You're supposed to be finishing college before you're 25. And you're supposed to be starting your career right around 25. The thing about it is with most of these careers, it typically takes you a couple of years to become solidified. It takes you a couple of years to really start building savings and whatnot. So usually most men are not going to hit their stride until about 35. 35 is pretty much the golden time between 30 for a man. I'm not talking about for a woman, but 35 to 45 is your golden years. After you hit about 45, things start slowing down. Hopefully you're making the maximum amount of income you can be making, and hopefully you're putting aside a decent amount of it. Then you have another solid 10 to 15 years to go until you're retired. Once you're retired, your home should be paid off. And once your house is paid off, your house is now an asset. Now, there's some people who use their house as a credit card by getting these, a HELOC, home equity line of credit. The problem with that is the interest rates. The Federal Reserve raising interest rates. Now, a HELOC was okay back when interest rates were dirt cheap, but the interest rates are high now. Furthermore, you may be getting mail, because I know I am. I'm getting mail where they're trying to refinance any of my properties so that this way I can take out HELOCs. I don't have any HELOCs. I use regular credit cards. I have no HELOCs. I don't want any HELOCs. There are some people who have HELOCs and they use them. They do it stupid shit, like they buy cars and stuff, and then they're surprised when the interest rates adjust because the Federal Reserve raises the interest rates. Now they can't afford those monthly payments. I typically stayed away from anything that wasn't a fixed payment. If it was a fixed payment, it was okay because it was something very easy to always understand. But when you're dealing with these adjustable rate mortgage ARM loans, or you're dealing with a HELOC where it adjusts, that's some shit you don't want to deal with. So, in my opinion, a HELOC is only supposed to be there for a catastrophic home event. Like, for example, let's say you're in your house and a tree falls on your fucking house. That's catastrophic. You should be able to afford to fix that with your own money. You should have homeowners insurance to fix that. And I'm talking about catastrophic. When I'm saying catastrophic, I'm talking about damages in the excess of like $50,000. You really should have savings to deal with that. But some people hold on to a home equity line of credit in order to deal with a catastrophic event. Most likely, homeowners insurance is going to deal with that. But me personally, bottom line is I stay away from HELOCs. Let's see. For defined contributions such as 401k, you can chip in an extra $7,500 in 2023. If you're 50 or older, you can't make catch-up contributions to an SEP IRA. This is what I'm talking about. Like the catch-up contribution is like, let's say you wait till tax season and you want to take extra money and put it in. They don't let you do that with the SEP IRA. But you can squirrel away an additional $3,500 to a simple plan if you're 50 or older. If you've got a solo 401k or IRA, the limits are $7,500 and $1,000 respectively. Income phase-out limits. Your ability to deduct your traditional IRA contributions depends on how much you earn. The IRS is increasing the adjusted gross income phase-out limits for 2023. If you have a traditional IRA and you participate in your employer's retirement plan, the phase-out range, if you're single, is $73,000 to $83,000. It's $116,000 to $136,000 if you're married and file jointly. If you are not covered by a workplace retirement plan but are married to someone who is covered, the phase-out range is between $218,000 and $228,000. Savers who are planning to fund a Roth IRA also need to be aware of adjustments to the income cap. If you're single or the head of your household, the income phase-out range is $138,000 to $153,000. The ceiling ranges between $218,000 to $228,000 for married couples filing jointly. As an incentive to get more people to save for retirement, the IRS offers a special credit for people who make below a certain amount and contribute to an employer's plan or IRA. The income limits used to qualify are going up slightly for 2023. The credit is good for single filers who earn $21,750 or less, heads of household making $32,625 or less, and married couples who file a joint return that make $43,500 or less. I'm not going to read all of the rest of this. So they just give a couple of tips, and that's just a rundown. I'm not going to read all the rest, especially the tips. But let me just say this in closing. First of all, this government's tax system is designed to favor married couples. Now, that wasn't talked about much in here, except when you see joint filers and married filers. Let's just understand something very basic understanding. Married couples and people having children are the ones who benefit from this country's tax code. If you're not married, they have what's called the single tax. And if you're not married, you're going to pay the single tax. There's a recent survey, recent studies, and they're saying that women in America are mostly going to be single and childless by the time we hit 2040. The studies showed 2030. But because the studies are based on the fact that they see that a lot of these men do not want to marry these women, and a lot of these women are choosing career paths which are causing them to delay childbirth. See, the reason why I keep bringing up these studies is because all of this shit is connected. If you take a step away from the painting when you're in the Museum of Modern Art and you look at it from a distance, and then you slowly walk towards it, and then you back up again, and you look at it from a distance, that allows you to really see this paint. So they're saying that these women are mostly going to be single and childless by 2030. Definitely by 2040 if the trend continues. Then they're also mentioning the fact that sperm donors are declining. Specifically, because I'm a black male, so everybody else can do their own thing, but I'm just saying, if you're a black male, they're saying that sperm donors are less than 2% black males. So that means that the only people still donating sperm is Pookie and Ray Ray. The high-earning black male doctors, the taller of us, I'm 6'6", by the way, the tall, high-earning, highly intelligent black males are not putting anything in the pot. They don't want to be surprised 18 years from now when somebody knocks on their door and shows up, some big ass clone of them shows up. Are you my daddy? Are you my daddy? And then they look at this bastard, they're like, oh my God, I should have never donated that sperm. The reality is, the rich men, they're not donating no fucking sperm. The high earning, highly intelligent men, they're not doing that shit. They don't give a goddamn if you can procreate or not because you're not their concern. So all of these stories are connected. All of this stuff is all pieces of a bigger puzzle. This country's tax system favors married couples and it favors childbirth. As I said, the health of the state is live births. Take a look at the illegals that they're letting in here. They're letting illegals in who they know that once they get up in here, now I know Abbott is taking them, putting them on buses and dropping them off in front of President Kamala Harris's house. Like they're on the bus and the bus driver's got the microphone. Hey, yes, well, if you look to your left, you'll see over there, that's a vineyard. They grow wine over there. And coming up on your right, if you look to your right, this is the Vice President Kamala Harris's house. And that's where the bus is going to stop. Okay, everybody, please kick your things and get the fuck off the bus. Yes, that's right. We're stopping right here. Yeah, everybody get off the bus. Take a look at who they're letting in. This government does everything it does for a reason. What I've heard a long time ago, one of the basic rules of economics is that the government always gets what it pays for. Do you think that the government doesn't realize that they're letting in illegals and that they're literally busing them to the vice president's house? Do you think that they don't know this? You're being replaced. They are getting these people who are going to have big families and you're being replaced. It's just that simple. Not only that, in order to pay these people their Section 8 and in order to finance them and fund them, your taxes are going up. My taxes are going up. Do you understand how this works? Not only are you being replaced, but you're going to pay for it. You remember how Trump said, yeah, we're going to build a wall and the Mexicans are going to pay for it? Yeah, well, you're being replaced and you're going to pay for it. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this shit out. But that's what's happening. Health of the state is live births. So the reality is, if you're unmarried and childless, you're going to be paying a hefty singles tax. Good luck buying that BMW X3 or that Range Rover Evoque or that Mercedes GLC when you're getting taxed up your ass to afford these people coming in here. Good luck. So the reality is, it's like people like the Passport Bros, we figured that shit out. We know that to build wealth, to build intergenerational wealth, marriage is paramount. So what are they doing? Getting their passports, getting out of this country, getting wives, whether they're living abroad or bringing them back, they get wives. They're not messing around with these women. Oh, yeah, I would marry you, but I'm saving myself for something better. No. Nope. No. So that's the reality. That's what you're dealing with. You need to be saving your money. You need to avoid wasting your money. Nobody's saying that you have to live like a poor person, but I'm just saying you need to start saving your money. You need to save your money. You need to have a healthcare savings plan. You need to have a Roth IRA, if possible. You need to have a 401k, if necessary. My saving, I'm Scrooge McDuck, man. I check my fucking money every night. Before I go to bed, I'm looking at my bank apps. I've got like several bank apps. I'm looking at each one of them. I'm Scrooge McDuck. I check that shit every day. In DuckTales, how Scrooge McDuck swam through his money? Well, I can't swim through digital money or I can't swim through the representation of money, but I damn sure can check and make sure that shit's there. So the reality is, you need to start saving your money. I've got a retirement system account. I have my, what is it called? I have my personal savings. Social Security will be there waiting for me. I've got my stock market investments that I've been putting money into for a very long time, thanks to YouTube extra money coming in after I paid off my student loans. And then my major investment is my real estate, my properties. Y'all have to have a plan See, you know what's so funny? I was talking about this on a channel. I was talking about this on one of these stupid ass panels on YouTube, right? And I was talking about how I plan shit. Like you've known from listening to me, I made a video when I bought my iPhone 14. This thing was $1,750. Do you think that the money is coming out of my pocket? No, 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 no. The money to buy this phone came out of my YouTube check. My YouTube checks tend to be around $2,500. And that's not counting the free shit that I get from these Chinese companies that I make videos about when they send me stuff that like free gifts and stuff. Like chargers and devices. Even they've sent me a refrigerator, they sent me tires and shit. But the bottom line is, I paid the price of this ridiculously expensive phone using a YouTube check. My vacations, I'm not trying to pay for that out of my personal money. I'm using the YouTube views to pay for that. You wonder why I make all these fucking Passport Bro videos? Well, if you could see how much money I made in December and November and October of Passport Bros, you'd understand right away. Oh, now it makes sense. You think I want to use my own personal money to buy a ticket to Bora Bora or to go to Singapore? And I'm flying business class? And these fucking planes, $4,000 round trip, $5,000 round trip. You think I'm paying with my money? Hells no. No, no, no. I saving up my money to buy a Cadillac in cash so I can avoid interest rates. You have to have a plan. That's something I learned from Red October, the Hunt from Red October. They said, yeah, a Russian submarine commander doesn't take a shit without a plan. That stuck with me. Like, you may think that it's just some stupid shit they say in a movie. No, no, no. When you learn these little idioms and these little sayings, you learn more from that than you learn it in these fucking bullshit schools. I'll tell you that. They ain't teaching you, what are they teaching you? Underwater basket weaving? Liberal studies? Feminist studies? Women's studies? You're paying $40,000 a year to get a degree in nothing? I'm a PhD. Get a PhD in some worthless ass shit. You learn more watching and reading books. You learn more from novels. You learn more from movies than you learn from these fucking schools. Are you kidding me? Really? Again, some people will never listen to me. It's like even with my crypto videos, I got very few numbers on those. But guess what? There was an uptick after you learned that scam, bankrupt, fraud stole all your goddamn money. There was an uptick in my videos when you learned that Mashinsky stole your goddamn money. That's when there's an uptick. Once you realize, oh shit, he was right. That's when you see an uptick. Bottom line is, you need to start saving your money. You need an HSA. You need a Roth IRA. You need a 401k. And you need personal savings aside from your Social Security. It's only going to come down to one of two things. Either you're going to be retired comfortably or you're going to be working yourself until you're dead. For the rest of your natural life, you're going to be working. It's up to you. The choice is up to you. You're free. You're free. You're in America. You can do what you want. You can either drive one of these piece of shit cars that's going to take all your money from you, or you can be saving up so that you're living golden like a king in your retirement when your prostate decides to fail and you're pissing on yourself in a Walmart. It's up to you. The choice is yours.
Women in this town compete to find a husband because of man shortage. In Dongguan, there's way more women than men. So the women of Dongguan actually have to compete to find a man. And the men of Dongguan are actually able to have multiple girlfriends.
Super secret tip of the night, everyone. So I told you about North Chinese secret tip. Now I'm going to tell you about the South Chinese secret tip. If you're in South China, in a province called Guangzhou, or Canton as you might know it, there's a little city called Dongguan. And now, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but we're just going to leave that there. This is one of the craziest cities for girls. Actually, it is a proven fact that every one guy has 2 girlfriends there because there's so many girls in the city and so little men that it's not even funny. So if you're in South China, I recommend you stopping by Dongguan and just seeing if you can find yourself a nice girlfriend or wife, because I guarantee you're going to have a good time.
love you,
Have a good
black
night.
man. I love you, black man.
I love you, black man.
I love you, black man.
I love you, black man.
I love you, black man.
I love you, black man.
I love you, black man.
I love you, black man. I love you, black man.
I love you, black man.
I love you, black man.
To be continued.